This conference will now be recorded.
Be recorded. All right, the town board will hold a public meeting beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, March 20th, 2023 at the town hall at 4058 County Road N. You can also join the meeting by GoToMeeting. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the town hall and on the website. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the flag pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You have the minutes of our last meeting, which was March 6th, in your packet.
I would move approval with one correction, and it's on page 2. Motion 8, item 8, H as in Henry. I believe Chairman Hampton made the motion, seconded by Duplay.
Okay.
That's it.
Motion by Williams, is there a second? Second by Duplay to approve the minutes for March 6th as presented with the one correction on page 2, letter H. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Finance report and approval of bills.
This is the Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's another version of it. We'll check and make sure that's one. Yeah, this is the one after.
Move approval of checks 36,207 to 36,247 be paid. And EFT payments of 484,361 and 80 cents. And check 36,132 is voided.
Motion by Duplay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anders to approve checks 36,207 through 36,247 and the EFT payments of $484,361.60. And that check 36,132 is void. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You then have the February building permits.
I'd move approval as presented. Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the February building permits as presented. Any discussion? I see the kennels were being.
Yeah, I saw that.
All
That's an
those-
expensive swimming pool too.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You also have your unaudited cash and investment balance of $3,047,005.64. And you have the report from the March court docket. And you get your February financial statements. Need by first
Let's see.
or the 31st?
The Friday, by the Friday before the next meeting, so,
31st.
yeah. That is the 31st.
Anything else? Everything's going all right with the audit?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
They're still working at it.
Next item is public concerns. Public's opportunity to speak to town board about any subject. This is not a specific agenda item. Anyone online?
Speaking up.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to review the February police activities. Good evening, Christine.
Hi, guys, how are you?
Good.
I'll make it real quick because I know, as I usually say, nobody really wants to sit and hear me drone on forever. So, real quick, looking at our stats, obviously you'll see at a quick glance, it looks like we have a ton of checked properties. Don't freak out. Again, like I usually say, it's not a ton of things that you have to be worried about. Most of the time, we're doing vacation checks because people are out of town. So we usually try to check on them at least every day, sometimes more than that. That's what a lot of that is coming from. There are other things that are sometimes included in that, but nothing that I would say needs to perk your ears or pique your interest like that number would normally. After that, the majority of our calls for service are related to our time is spent on traffic stops. The majority of our traffic stops are usually speed. After that, it's usually non-registration and then maybe operate without insurance or operate without a license. We do have our signs set up. I know I wasn't here on the last meeting, so I'm not sure if Zilly went over any of that. We have a sign now set up that you guys are probably aware of on Gaston, the one going eastbound. And then we have the one on Vilas Hope, facing south. And then we've got the little guy that we got, and that one's sitting on Damascus right now.
How long has that one been up?
The Damascus one?
Yeah.
So the two big ones are, I'd have to look at a calendar to have the specific date, but approximately 2 weeks, I'd say, give or take. And the Damascus one is about the same, but I know it took a couple more days before it was actually up. So it's a few days behind the big ones. So I'd say roughly 2 weeks.
So next month we'll see what we can learn from the Damascus
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I'd say, and I can touch base with Zilly too and see if he wants to, if we can even pull something in the interim. I just don't know if it. To next round, we will definitely have more data and stats for all three. So.
Okay. Question? Keep up the good work. I took your water test in. I'm not sure when we'll get the
I haven't seen any
results.
results yet, but.
That went in last week, though.
Okay.
And we get a car replacement this year, though, don't we?
I think so.
You haven't heard anything as to when?
No, I know in general, the cars are all kind of been pushed back and back ordered, and our entire department has had issues with that right now. And I can say that because I know our vehicle coordinator has been frustrated with the fact that we just can't get the product we want right now. And they've been on order for a while. So I don't know what the updated timeline is. I can email her when I leave and just ask if she happens to have one. I don't know how accurate at this point it's gonna be. Kind of
Okay.
like hurry up and wait.
What, captain's coming in April?
The 18th to the board meeting, yeah.
We'll ask
Well,
her.
I'm sure he'll have some good information too. So I can ask her in the meantime and just shoot an email so you guys know until then.
Okay, all right.
Sound good?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item is to discuss and consider approval of a parade or race permit for Cynthia Callum Nelson, applicant and race director for Hot to Trot Guides Grove Run on June 17th, 2023, to include Clark Street and its intersections with Vilas Road and crossing of the Hoyshole Drummel Trail. Hello. Anything new that you need to tell us that we haven't seen?
Nope, it's the same routes as the last couple of years.
Yeah,
We have a couple of hundred people already registered. but no other changes to report.
And we have asked for the waiver of the fee again. And we do have a contract with Deer Grove.
Okay,
I would move approval of the permit for Hop to Trot with the waiving of the fee and having the contract that you have with Deer Grove.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Conger to approve the parade race application, waives the fee, and notification that they do have a contract with Deer Grove EMS. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Can I add something?
Sure.
The aid stations on here are staffed by volunteers, right? And anyone can volunteer.
We're always looking for volunteers.
I did it a couple of years ago and it was fun, actually. So
Did you get aid?
I did.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, moving on to discuss and consider purchase of playground equipment for Kennedy Hills Outlot 2. And I chose do you have the sale flyer?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
this one right here. Yeah, so it was,
3096, that's the one I have on the screen. Sale price was $34,255.
and at the plan commission, they were going to use the 21
Parks.
parks, they were going to use the 21,000 that is paid in by the Kennedy Hills Park fees and 14,000 from the park fund that we have already set up, was not including the chips for underneath the structure, which Dan will get whenever the residents get it built.
Once you figure out what one we're gonna pick, I can kind of figure out what that's gonna cost.
It's a SY 3096.
That's one for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
As soon as they
That-
vote.
that's the one they wanted,
Yeah.
depending on the vote. Do you have the flyer?
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause then I can call the company and find out what that estimate would be.
We've also asked to install a couple of pieces of the Excel.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that question.
There's some more pictures in your packet there of what those look like, so Dan will, we need to factor those into the area
Yeah.
too.
The color theme is going to be freedom. And they're going for a gray canopy top.
Great.
I'm just wondering about the canopy. I mean, is that a cloth top?
I believe it is.
If you're looking for comment from me,
Yeah,
I don't know. It appears as if it may be, or some sort of plastic, I'm not sure. If it's a cloth top, we're ready for the eventuality that it may have to be removed at some point because of.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
No, if that's some sort of canvas, I'm sure it doesn't got too many years. And that field there with not too many trees to block the wind, it whips through there pretty good, so. You might only get, 2 years out of the top, but
It'll be that nylon
no.
shade block stuff.
That non-rip stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a better picture of it there.
All right.
Dan, have you seen the used equipment that they were thinking about installing up there also?
I've seen the pictures, yeah.
But you haven't physically laid eyes on. I'm just curious as to, we need to have somebody from the town actually lay eyes on it just to make sure it's serviceable. No offense, but I'm just saying, just
We
from
plan
the,
to. We have it in storage right now. yes.
just lay eyes on it just to make sure that it's.
Yes. Yeah, you should.
In the bottom picture that you included, you saw this picture of the old or the used equipment?
Yeah, I can't quite see what picture that is, but
It's got the blue climbing wall, two pieces and stuff. Was there, I see in the background, it looks like there's some sort of stairs leading up. Is that a different piece of equipment that's?
we're not planning to use that one now. But there
Okay,
was-
so it's just the climbing wall with the interconnecting braces between it.
It is. I mean, in total, the pieces we'd be looking to salvage if we're able to is the slider that's shown in, I believe, the first picture.
Like a zip line almost kind of thing, right?
Exactly. The two rock walls that are connected by some sort of metal twisty thing. And then there's a swing set that's very simple, just kind of a T-bar. I don't know if we have a picture included with that, but same design.
It's in the background of that top one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The Parks Commission, did they actually recommend that one?
The
It just says
SY
up to 35,
3096.
yeah. But it just says up to 35,000. It doesn't say what they recommended. Did I read it? How I read this anyway?
Yeah, no, that was they did not specify which unit. They specified the dollar amount.
Right?
To let them then decide which unit they wanted to put in, as long as it fit within that dollar amount.
Okay.
But that's a good mix of what you guys are looking for then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that they wanted to check with the other households.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion
I move that we approve the purchase of the playground equipment for Kennedy Hills lot number 2,
as approved by
as
the
approved by the
Arts,
Parks Committee,
and that you are specifying the SY 3096?
3096 for $34,255.
Yeah. And that the two other pieces that they need to have, and lay eyes on those to make sure that they're acceptable
Yes.
construction.
Okay.
It'd be three pieces, but
Pardon?
it'd be three pieces. but
Three
yeah.
pieces, yeah. Motion by Duplay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Williams to approve SY 3096 at full cost of $35,000 for the unit. The three additional pieces that they have will be approved by Dan, and they're doing the installation.
And 21, 23 come from the homeowners.
The Kennedy, 21 comes from the Kennedy Hill, and the balance from the budgeted amount. Any other discussion?
Yes. Was there a time frame once the new pieces arrive, this guy here, was there a,
I think it's up
Time
to the
frame.
homeowners association, isn't it?
well,
Don't have to be 2 years or.
correct, I didn't want it to languish, I guess.
A time frame for what, though?
How soon will you install it?
The weekend we get it, I'm sure. We have like a ton of kids in that neighborhood that are just chomping at the bit for a park. So as soon as you drop it off, we'll be starting on it.
So then we'll have to order it for the 29th
Yep, we'll do it tomorrow.
and then wait and find out when delivery will be.
Right.
Do we put like a 60-day after arrival type of time frame on it, weather dependent, of course? I mean, I wouldn't.
It'll be dependent on rain too, when I can dig it out.
Yeah,
I mean, if we do get a period of rain or something where I can't dig the hole out, then. I mean, that'll be my hold up, not theirs. It could be that I hold them up more than they hold us up, but yeah.
just throwing it out.
Are you gonna budget for chips some other way then?
They'll have to come out of the park expense fund.
Unless you want to look at rubber matting.
When you go out for those chips, they're special. Do you ever check with Circle B?
No, but I can.
I think you should. It might be a little cheaper.
Okay.
There's no other discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. So we will get that ordered hopefully this week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
You bet.
Next item, consideration of the city of Madison putting a sewer line under Lutz Lane. After our last meeting, I got a call from Brian Grady from the city of Madison telling us that they're going to annex the rest of the county's property at the end of Lutz Lane with the solar panels, but that they want to run sewer. And I'm assuming they'll probably put water there too, because they're looking to build the new 911 center out there where the farm buildings were. And so they want to know if they could put it under Lutz Lane. I guess I don't know that we could stop them because it's public, but he asked at least.
If we want to invite him to put it elsewhere.
Well, I did talk to the one neighbor, and like what we did with the village when we ran down Gaston, I thought we should probably ask them that if they want to hook up, that they allow them without having to annex.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Because Mike doesn't want to annex, he doesn't need it, but
No.
to have that option, I guess, would be something that he wouldn't mind having.
But he'd have to do it when they put in the line, right?
Yeah.
So once that's over, it's over.
Nice to know that 6 months ago, huh?
Well, I don't know that we can say no if it's public right away,
Right.
so. It was nice to hear from them though, that they were looking at doing this, whereas the county took me 2 calls to get someone to call me back to say, yeah, we are looking. And apparently the solar farm has to go because that was part of their negotiated settlement with the city to move the landfill to Yahara Hills.
Ah.
That's not, technically, they're not gonna build another garbage dump up there. according to my-
So I will call him back and let him know that they can do it and asking for the waiver for Niebauer if he wants to hook up. Next item was consideration of agenda items for the annual town meeting on April 18th. We have a copy of what last year's was.
Of course, the auditors will be here like always to present the financial statements. Sheriff
can't make.
captain can't make it, so you'll be having her come the evening before, so I don't know if you want to do any kind of a sheriff's update at the annual meeting too or not.
Well, I think we've had their statistic guy, didn't we, one time that came in and showed how they
Yeah.
figure, I think that'd be sort of neat.
They don't really, that's why Jake is doing all the statistics, because that guy isn't really there anymore.
Oh, really? Oh, geez.
Ah,
That's why Jake has been doing all these. That's my understanding at least.
You didn't want to have that bridge replacement and repairs thing on there?
No, I mean, this was last year.
Right.
No, I'm just saying that, so we can just cross that one out.
We're done with that.
Yeah.
Plan is done.
The yard waste is done, comp plan's done, so it's what new items do you want to add or not, and leave it up to the electives.
Depending on what happens later tonight, you might have something to talk about.
Yeah.
You can
Anything
talk
else?
about, do you want to talk about your speed boards at all?
We can talk about those.
Sure, why not?
Speed boards, the 3.
EMS update.
I don't think
You
we
sure?
have much to share.
I don't have
I mean,
much.
you're right.
It's almost like saying, well, library update.
No,
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Well, put the 3 speed boards on and a lot of blank lines. If anybody wants to add anything, we can do it that night. Okay, all right. Consider, next item is consideration of funding potential infrastructure improvements serving the Highway 12, 18, and 10 interchange business park.
Hi.
Good evening, Mark.
Hello. So you had in your packet a follow-up memo, right? And just from last time, I recall the conclusions being that to do sewer and water was probably just too expensive, too much buck for the bang, and an uncertain process to get water approved anyway. So we stopped looking at water, public water service. Also, the balance sheet did look great when we included in the potential expenses over the 20-year life of a typical tax increment district funding an intersection of N and Natvig and punching Natvig through to North Star Road. So we pulled that out of calculation. And then you asked us to look at grants, and I'll report on that a little bit. Could we get someone else's money to help fund this? And, it came out in the discussion, especially with Nick's help, that if sewer were to be brought to the interchange area, it would be a force main from its current terminus, around AB. And then there would be a lift station that would be installed somewhere around the interchange, probably at a low point, maybe where the creek crosses the bridge at N. And that would have a service area, a gravity flow service area, so sewers could come into it from a number of different directions. So we wanted to look at, not just the northeast quadrant of the interchange where we've done all the planning, but any other part of that interchange area that might gravity flow to that force main. So we did that, and the kind of bottom line is we could get sewer with the lift station to the interchange, and we think, given the revenues that we're projecting, we could fund that sewer over the 20-year period. But the challenge is, getting it to that point, and then telling someone on North Star Road, hey, you got to connect to sewer. and then looking at you saying, great, well, where's the sewer? Oh, it's about a half mile to the east or west, go get it. Is a kind of a challenging proposition to be in. You know, typically when you have the industrial park with a tax incremental district, the expectation is that the services are at your front door and you just connect onto them. So with that sort of aha moment, we also took a look at another scenario. We said, okay, well, what would it take to actually extend gravity flow sewer to that lift station from the places that we expect will develop? And how much will that cost? And could we squeeze a little bit more benefit over the 20-year period from areas beyond the northeast quadrant of the interchange? And, you know, based on our analysis we did 2 months ago, we could squeeze a little more benefit, but, you know, it is a limited, you know, source. You know, there's other people doing industrial parks. There's only so many people, so many acres we could absorb. So we were able to, like, over that 20-year period, get a little more revenue. And then Nick helped estimate the cost of extending the lines, and you have a map, the last map in your packet that showed very conceptually where those lines could go. If you have a color version there in sort of the purple color, to serve, you know, the area that's outlined in the blue color. And so there's different costs for different segments of the line. And what I did is to serve the areas that I expect we're going to be able to develop over the 20-year period, given, you know, supply and demand kind of calculations. We figured out the cost of installing those gravity flow lines and compared the two. And while, you know, getting sewer to the industrial park area or to the interchange area, it seems to work. Getting sewer to and around the industrial park area over at least a typical 20-year tax incremental district life, the math didn't seem to work. In other words, too many expenses, too little projected revenue to pay those expenses. And unfortunately, while you wouldn't have to spend all that money up front, you're definitely going to have to spend the 3.5 million up front to get it there. And then you're going to have to spend some more money to get it to the list, from the lift station to, you know, the actual development sites within the interchange area. So many of those expenses would be upfront expenses. So it seemed a challenge to make the dollars work for that. So, you know, a couple other points. You know, we did look at grants. You know, based on Nick and my research, getting grants from like the DNR or other grants that are based on kind of focused on utilities and making utilities extensions just for the sake of, you know, clean groundwater or whatever, not very promising. There's two potential sources of grants. One's Dane County Community Development Block Grant. They have funded, they were involved in the funding of the Novation Business Park. It's the one between Rimrock and Park Street south of the Beltline. They helped Brooklyn fund an industrial park, but they only have $1 million a year. So, you know, you're not going to get a ton of money from that. And then there's federal EDA money, Economic Development Administration money, for, you know, this purpose. And it's possible. The people that I've talked to said, yeah, but they're really looking for big regional impact projects. You know, like you're going to bring, oh, I don't know, Amazon to town, you know, or, you know, Epic Systems or something that's just going to have a major impact, and they'll contribute to those kind of things, and not necessarily to, you know, relatively small, you know, more local projects like the one we have. So, you know, banking on too much in the way of other people's money through grants is, you know, going to be challenging.
Yeah.
Now, Bill reminded me that a tax incremental district with the approval of the town board and a joint review board can go from 20 years to 23 years. That would give us a little more play. I could be wrong in my estimates of future value, and it could be, you know, much higher.
Right.
You know, that's something that could be considered. And, you know, the other thing is that not all this area that's highlighted in blue, based on our calculations, are going to be developed in 20 years. So, and the sewer is going to last longer than 20, what, 80 years? You know, I don't know what the life of a sewer is. So, you know, the sewer investment may not pay for itself in 20 years, or even maybe 23, but it might pay for itself in 40 years or 50 years. The problem is you need money up front to pay for it. So if it's not all from the tax incremental district, it would have to come from somewhere else. I don't know, the general fund, you know, another way to kind of make it happen. The final point I'll note, and you know, again, a little bit of a kick in the pants, is that as Nick mentioned, I'm sorry, Nick, you're not really the bearer of bad news here, but you know, that we're talking about a forced main from AB to here. So it's not, as he explained at the last meeting, it's not as if other people in the in between can easily connect to it. It's just not the way the sewer works. I would imagine bad things would happen if you tried to tap into a force main.
It's your fault.
So, you know, the in-between spaces don't really give us much. Unfortunately, they're sort of dead line. You know, and there's a couple miles of that, which, you know, adds up.
Right.
So, yeah, we came here, you know, a few months ago, I think a little more optimistic that the dollars and cents would work than we ended. And that's why you do studies like that, I suppose. But, you know, right now we're not, I can't say I'm recommending that you guys do this. It would be something that would be a much longer term proposition than probably 20 years with a payback, and some other funding source would have to be tapped aside from the future tax revenue that we would get from a tax incremental district.
Yeah, I think your report is good, and I think it's sort of depressing in a way, but I think you're honest about what you put in here. And I from the beginning said that, well, if we could get other money, I'd look more and more, but I'm not there anymore.
On your page for scenario 2,
Yeah.
do the math for me on expenses.
So the 20-year expenses are total up to 10.8. Did I do the math wrong? 3.5 is the sewer extension.
Yeah. So it's 10.8, but then your cost is the 7.6, your revenue.
Revenues are the 7.6.
7.6, right?
Yeah.
Up 1.1 from scenario 1.
Yeah, because we assumed in our commercial development analysis, since we've got the planning and the zoning and the North Star Road improved, that would continue to be the focus of the economic growth, you know, that we've seen. We've got a lot of proposals here every month. We have one or two more. And so we loaded most of the future development into that quadrant, you know, assuming it would mostly fill up before other areas would, you know, be opened up for developments. You know, the plans would change, zoning would change, and, you know, maybe the southeast quadrant would open up more for economic development, maybe than the southwest. Maybe the quarry would be quarried out and that would become available later. But over 20 years, you know, we didn't assume that too much more than the North Star Road area and the area between North Star and N would fill in.
Would it make any difference if we went through on our comp plan for that area and put other building restrictions to increase the value?
I made our commercial value analysis, just to kind of remind ourselves, it was based on what we've seen in other places that have sewer. So, you know, by the natural course of events, the values I assume would be a little higher per acre with sewer, because you know, you don't need a drain field. You can develop more compactly, and you can, with sewer, you can get more manufacturing and some higher value, you know, than cold storage, you know, buildings or, you know, outdoor storage typically generate. So that was already kind of cooked into the model, that higher value.
Because I would assume we would build pole sheds would build more brick and mortar?
Yeah, I think, I think the quality of development, as you see when you look at places with sewer and water, is you can demand a little bit more with utilities. You only have one of them, but, so yeah, the value of the buildings would probably be a little higher. And the amount of building you can put per acre would be more.
Because you don't have to use so much for a drain field any longer.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So Bill, in that roughly 2-year period from maybe when construction and everything starts and you have that $3.5 million expense, the town would take that out and would be on the hook for that 3.5. And once it gets to N, would you have form a utility district and a TID and have them take that over?
Yeah, I would form the utility district right away in anticipation of the sewer.
Okay.
And then the utility can issue bonds to fund that. That way it's not town debt. It's district debt.
Yeah.
You could do that. I would probably hold off on forming the TIF district until you have a development agreement in place from a major developer. Because, once you form that, your 20-year clock starts ticking.
Right.
So you don't want to needlessly burn up time sort of waiting for a developer to come. So as they come, once one of them comes and you have sort of the bird in hand, then I would form the TID. And that would maximize your time. As Mark mentioned, if assuming you have JRB approval, which normally you get, you could stretch it out to 23 years. That gets you a little better on the numbers. The only other thing I was thinking as I was reading Mark's report, and I want to, he did a really good job of giving you sort of a realistic, conservative analysis. I mean, so many times I sit in these meetings and consultants give pie in the sky numbers that are, so I really think it's good you're getting sort of realistic numbers. There is one other thing you can do that somewhat makes the numbers a little easier. Mark had mentioned growth will come, but it may come outside of your 20-year capture period for the TID. You can have sort of rolling TIDs. So you create a TIF district here that does its best to reach development and pay off some of that 3.5 million.
Yeah.
And you're only going to get 23 years out of that. But as the growth grows beyond that first TID, you can create second TIDs. And that's a new 20-year clock later. And then with the sort of, you can have those TIDs, assuming there's development there, donate back to the first TID. And that allows you to take your 20 years and effectively make it 30 or 40 years. That sort of gets a little bit wing and a prayer because you don't know where, Mark's estimating where the development goes, but that'll make the numbers better too. Whether they're enough to make it worth your while sort of depends on, because now you're talking development 30 years down the road. It's really hard to estimate, but I would say that that's another thing that would get you more favorable numbers.
So instead of, say, putting all 400 acres in the TID right away, you'd maybe only take 100 or 150 and add on to it later.
Exactly right. Yeah, I would take the 150 acres that Mark says are going to be the first to develop. Put those in the initial TID. They're gonna front the whole 3.5 million. We would probably expect it would not be able to cover that expense in the 23 years. But then say 15 years into that, or even 20 years if you can get that close, form TID 2 with the next 150 or 200 acres.
And then TID 2 could potentially, if there was still $1 million to pay off from that initial investment, TID 2 could then be, the future revenue in TID 2 could be devoted to paying that last $1 million.
And you could theoretically keep doing that, as long as development was growing. You could have a third tier of TID that would, repay into TID 1 if it was still in existence, or TID 2.
Are you saying that if we borrow 3.5 million, that we could have $1 million left in 20 years?
I just picked a number out of the air.
Well, get what I'm saying though. I mean, we're talking today. This is looking at 20 years from now. The possibility, it looks like the numbers here show it's not going to be paid.
Yeah.
On this page right here.
Yep, I think Mark's conclusion
Either
was
one.
it's unlikely in 20 years that it would be developed. And that's why I was suggesting there are methods to increase your capture period beyond 20 years.
Yeah, so what I don't think could be paid, just to be clear, is not getting sewer to the interchange. I think the numbers work to get it to the interchange. Where I think it starts to break down is getting it around.
Then we're
to the
nitpicking to
development
that
sites.
from that point forward.
Just FYI. So, you don't need to extend all of, if the first TID is just northeast of the interchange where we have the, all the planning done. That's not all of the red lines or the red lines on this map. So you're not bearing all the expense. You're not getting all the revenue benefit either, because the sewer's only going to go where, or the development's only going to happen with sewer where you have sewer. So, but the idea would be that you'd focus, your initial tax incremental district under this option just in that area. And then, maybe things would be rosier than you thought after 23 years. Great, it pays for it. And if it didn't, what Bill is suggesting is that then you move on to the next area, create another tax incremental district, and do what we did, for the northeast quadrant with planning and.
Mark, explain the thing with the MMSD and the 2 acre.
Oh, yeah.
Lot would be $15,000.
So they require,
that.
they require a connection fee. It's a per acre or per square foot fee. Let me see.
Is it square feet?
Yeah, per 1,000 square feet. Yeah.
Per square foot of land area or building?
Land area. Mhm. So I just gave a hypothetical of a 2 acre lot, which is, kind of what we're seeing out there.
If somebody buys a 2 acre lot, is that what you're saying? I don't.
Yeah, they would be required to pay, someone would be required to pay a connection fee to MMSD. The fee, as I understand it, actually goes to the municipality, but the municipality frequently passes that on to the, whoever's connecting with private industry or whatever. Sometimes I've seen in tax incremental districts that are, promising and generating a lot that the tax incremental district will pay for it. But that's not always the case. Outside of TIDs, it's pretty common that developers are expecting that they're going to have to pay for that.
And everything in Cottage Grove that runs from the golf course all the way out here, how do the landowners, I wonder if they say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to run the sewer.
From where? From Cottage Grove?
No, from the golf course where it is. Out to
Along 12?
Out to end.
Well,
is that right away?
It'd go on 12 and 18.
It would go on the right
of way. Theoretically, it would stay all on the right of way.
There's wide enough right of way to accommodate that.
So it'd be the state, you wouldn't have to buy any easements.
Yeah, we don't think so.
And the state would just say, okay, fine, go ahead.
Yeah, they do all the time.
And that would be on the north side or the south side?
It hasn't been.
Huh?
It hasn't been analyzed that close intensely. So more than likely, it's hard to say without looking into detail and actually spending substantially more time and getting into design perspective. But just these were costs from point A to point B.
I understand.
How many air reliefs and manholes and pipe, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it would be great if we could allow people along that 2 acre stretch to connect to it, but it's not that kind of pipe.
Yeah, I understand that, man.
And so, our service area is the blue the blue area on this map. We would get it out to that interchange, and then that opens up the area in blue, you know, and Nick, yeah, I put conceptual, he kept bugging me to say, this is just all conceptual, right, Mark? Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's all,
Engineer, planner, different, yeah.
between AB and out here, there wouldn't be anybody in between there that could hook into this.
Not until you get to
Because
the
it's a
blue,
different, it's a power
it's the fourth
system.
main, it's a
Yes.
pressure main.
So
It's a pressure, it's potential, but you'd have to have another full lift station. It's not as simple as just your gravity hooking on to a pipe because it's
no, I
a-
understand.
So,
Actually, you can do it without a lift station. You need one with pressure, whatchamajigger valves, right?
so for, no, the pressure, you could have a valve, but you have to have high enough pressure to push it back in. So what the pressure is on the lift station, you need to have about the same pressure to force it in. Otherwise, it'll
Goes on.
shoot backwards. So the simple way to put it, yeah.
So it has to be a higher pressure lift station than the one upstream.
It gets into it, another pressurized lift station, you could say, would be needed to actually force sewage into it. It gets more complex than just having a gravity pipe hook into it because it's a pressurized pipe.
But if development were proposed in that area, that's just a cost you factor in, the cost of that lift station.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't make it justifiable for one house to hook onto it because of the system you have to put in place. It'd have to be a bigger lift station per se, serving multiple houses, businesses, or so forth.
What component of the 3.5 million to get it here was in your lift station, Nick?
About, I anticipate around 750 for a lift station out of that 3.5.
So once we would bury that pipe, no one would be able to hook up to it without Cottage Grove Township or the utility district saying it's okay.
Yeah, that would be the sanitary sewage districts.
Yeah.
MMSD.
No, the sanitary sewer district you create
Okay.
would have that ownership and authority to make those calls on if they want anyone to hook up to it.
You would have town of Cottage Grove sanitary district
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah, something like that.
And we could hire that staff for 250,000 to run it and everything would be great.
Well, you work cheaper than that, don't you?
No, I do it for 125 and close it down.
Oh, man. So Madison would be able to use that line.
Correct. And
Yeah.
the other thing is that because of the fact our LSA, basically what it is, right? It's a limited service area, right?
Yeah.
You would have to get that designation from DNR with the recommendation.
But I just, that would give us a little bit more protection for potential annexation from other cities and villages and stuff and down in there.
Long term, it
Yeah.
would. I mean, very long term.
Yeah.
Because you have at least half of what you need that normally forces annexation. You have one utility.
Yeah, as well as the fact that, if they acquire a portion of the area covered by the district, they need to assume that portion of the debt.
So I'm confused of how the debt works. So if you borrowed if you formed a sewer district and they borrowed 3.5 million, then whoever is in the boundary of that sewer district is gonna be the one paying the payments on that, right? So they're gonna be making payments, annual payments on 3.5 million. Right? I mean, it's
Well,
gonna
if you
be
didn't
like,
create a tax incremental district.
well, or if you got to the point, but like Bill was saying, you wouldn't do that until you had somebody big coming in. So in the meantime, you got a sewer district and they're responsible for the payment and it's just a payment. It's not their taxes, right? It's
No, it's just user fees.
It's
For-
user
yeah.
fees, and so those are gonna be huge, aren't they? For land that's just farmland now?
Well, I would expect initially the user fees are not going to cover your bond payments. There's going to be negative.
So who's gonna cover that, the town?
Well, you would have to amortize out that, debt, those payments to later dates in anticipation of later.
So then you just accumulate more interest? if you
But we're
do
still
that?
paying them. Somebody's gonna be paying the loan.
Yeah.
It's a crisis for people that are there when there's no business.
Or even if you took so then you formed a TID, until there's substantial development there, even all their taxes, I can't imagine are gonna cover the debt service. I guess I'm having a hard time
Well, they
thinking
wouldn't,
of
because
where all that money's coming from.
the TID will only receive increment, the taxes above what they are now.
Yeah,
So until there's development, there's no increment
yeah.
on the TID.
I'm having trouble figuring out where the money's coming from to service this $3.5 million worth of debt.
Which is
There's more-
just a
there's more
start.
money coming in later in the period than in the beginning of the period.
But don't you
Yeah,
still have to
that's
pay
correct.
for it earlier in the
Yeah,
period?
that's right. There's where the financial advisor would have to, they do this all the time because this is how tax incremental districts work. There's usually a big front end expense. It's often buying land for industrial development, or it's putting in roads and sewers. And then you kind of wait for the development. So they probably have borrowing tools that are structured for this type of
Yeah, they
scenario.
backload the payments, and you pay interest on that, because like Mark said, all TIDs work this way. The debt comes at the very beginning, and the revenue comes later. Same with sanitary districts, and particularly speculative ones like this. You don't have a bird in hand yet. You're operating on the fact that it's going to come. So this is nothing unusual, for any township or municipality that does something like this.
But couldn't that number get significantly higher while you're sitting there accumulating interest?
Well, your debt and the interest calculation will be known when you take that borrowing
But I
out.
mean, looking at this $3.5 million, that's your expense to do it. But then if you're gonna borrow for that and not pay for it until you got somebody there to pay for it, you're gonna have how
Yeah.
much time of interest?
Yeah, I had accrued interest expense based on I'm not a financial advisor,
No.
but I just wanted a placeholder in there, and I had, on that 3.5 million, I had 2.4 million of debt added on to that. So we had built that in, but that was based, to your point, Kim, that was based on it's kind of a standard payout. You pay, the same amount every year for 20 years.
Yeah, and you would want to work that out so that you have a lesser payment early and at the end, a higher payment.
Yeah, and I don't know how that would work with the interest rates or
I
what.
don't know anymore if that's the way that
That's
anybody's going.
That's when you'd have, yeah, I
That's
know-
what you negotiate.
we reached over, Chris, I asked you to reach to Ellers and give me a rate to use.
Yeah.
And so we used the 5.5 based on Ellers. But, if you guys were to think, well, this passes a sniff test to go take another step, I would say the next step is to get your financial advisor, we download the information to Ellers, and, they start to run with it because they know how to, structure the finances more than anyone in the room, I would hazard to guess.
Mhm.
Well, this tells the truth to me. Your information does. And we sit here talking speculation over and over still. And then we spend a couple more bucks, and then we spend more, a little more, and a little more. I think we have to go back to the plan that the area probably would be cold storage, and you make a nice buildings and stop this.
Yeah, and I would just say, regardless of what you do, I keep repeating this, but you can demand more, whether you have sewer or not. We've upgraded our design ordinance. You control the zoning along with the county. Much of that land is zoned appropriately. And so that puts the town in a pretty good position to demand, quality. So you're not just, dealing with outdoor storage and.
And we're dealing with the village right now going north with more development with sewer and water right now on the other side of
Interstate.
the interstate. That's happening as we speak. They have sewer and water.
Yeah, my only point was separate out the sewer situation is you got the tools to demand more out of the businesses that want to come out to the North Star Road corridor.
You do if you have somebody demand the money from. That somebody really wants to come out here to our industrial park. That's what you're talking about.
Well,
The people that want to come here to build a building.
My point is that you got 1 or 2 new businesses, every month that want to build there right now. And that,
Where are they?
That puts you in a good.
I'm not hearing this.
Yeah.
1 or 2 a month?
We've had things on the plan commission.
People have speculated.
Every month.
Yeah, to look at all kinds of different places.
No, we've
I
actually,
presume.
well, no, we got the one guy, the electrical equipment contractor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to take us off course.
No, I'm just.
You're talking
no,
1 or 2 a
not.
month, you said.
Huh?
You said 1 or 2 a month.
There's inquiries, people
Yes.
looking at it, asking
Which is,
what could be
I'd say
done.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only point is that you don't have to take garbage along North Star Road. There's demand for some development there.
I agree.
The quality and the quantity of the demand would increase with sewer.
Yeah.
Questions, comments, motions, whatever.
I don't know what I would make for a motion. I have no clue.
How much would you expect Ellers to charge us to do the financial end of this?
I don't know.
I mean, you don't even have a guess?
No.
It's a pretty simple calculation. I wouldn't expect it would be more than a few hours of time. I mean, they're gonna take the numbers from Mark's memo and they can run them out and they can tell you, based on the last bond issue they did, this is the rate that was acquired, and they can structure it any way you want. That's just spreadsheets.
10,000 plus or
No,
minus?
less than that.
Less than that?
And part of it is you would want them to look at the borrowing differential between a to-be-created district and the town. Because if the town can borrow at less expense than the district, the town could consider borrowing the money itself and loaning it to the district. If your borrowing rate is less, which it may be, because the district has no background, history. And then the board has to make the decision that, do you wish to do that, because then that counts against your debt, whereas if the utility borrows it, it doesn't.
Well, I'm still to the point that I think that this has to be a meeting where people can come in and sit here and listen to what this plan is. Because there's very few people in the town that know anything about this.
And you're thinking that a open house of sorts?
Well, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, couple
But
of
I'm just
meetings
saying,
ago.
do you think that's gonna change anything?
I don't know.
I don't think you're gonna.
I think knowledge is important to people.
I don't think we're gonna find more than just the handful of people
I
that we
think you're
see out
totally
here
wrong.
now.
Yeah,
I don't
we're
think,
talking money that people are gonna be paying out.
I don't think you have enough concrete figures though for that yet.
No,
I don't.
well, when did that end? When did the concrete
Well,
figures
let's talk to Ellers.
Yeah.
And I realize, Mike, that you don't want to go down this road.
I can
We
figure.
keep spending and spending and spending. But you know what?
Ellers will tell you
$5,000, it might be worth it.
another 1,000 and another 1,000 and another
I'm
1,000.
just saying, right now,
If spending like you said, another 1,000, another 1,000. I have a feeling I know where you sit on this whole project, okay? And I respect your opinion on that. But wouldn't you want to spend a little extra money to perhaps maybe validate your opinion or validate some of the other folks here?
It's right here. It's all validated.
No.
Hate
What
to
I'm
tell
saying
you
is
that, but
cost wise.
What kind of motion would we have to have in order to get Ellers to, I mean, are you looking for like a maximum that we spend or just to authorize you to negotiate for us or
Whatever you prefer. But before you do that, can I ask Wade, do you have any idea of the one company that is looking at that northwest corner, how much that their building will be?
Northwest, northeast,
Northeast.
northeast corner.
The northeast quadrant, yeah.
Northeast.
Right now, they're looking for 20 acres for sure with an expansion to 10. They're building a facility like this in the state right now, and it's over $40 million project.
Do they need water? Do they need public water?
The other one, they somehow got by without having to sprinkler part of their building. So they'd like to have it both, obviously, but they think they can get by without water more so than the sewer. Problem is, it just, like you said before, everybody, it takes up so much land to put in a septic field for that size of facility. So.
Difference in that.
When you say 40 million, you think that's 40 million of structure or that includes the land?
No, just the building.
Just the building itself, yeah.
They're building one now. It was budgeted at 40 and they said it's going to be over. There's no way they can get it just with the material increases.
Yeah, I mean, that revenue is more than I assume per acre.
and that's only 20 acres. How many other acres?
We got 120 acres there that we're looking to do something with.
I mean, if someone can bring it, bring it. I mean, and then the calculation changes.
Well, and, you know, to Mike's point, if the concern is the sort of speculative nature of this thing, if this buyer is serious, we could negotiate a development agreement now. That is conditioned upon bringing sewer in.
Yeah.
But, you know, they obligate themselves to building the structure. We obligate ourselves to putting the sewer in. And if we can't get the sewer here, they're not obligated to build their building. Then, you know, then you sort of have your bird in hand. And, you know, the beauty of that is it's not speculative then. You have your bird in hand and that increment will come in year 2 of your TID, which is as fast as it can possibly come. That really changes. Ellers will tell you early money is worth way more than later money in your TID. So if you bring that much money in on day 1 of your TID, it dramatically changes the pro forma. Yeah, that's bigger numbers than I was assuming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing Mike's concern, and I'm hearing Steve's willingness and openness to get funds, get the figures that will answer. And I'm hearing Jim as our clerk treasurer, where's the money coming from? And I'm hearing Mike.
Not me.
No. Bill say we need to have this. I agree. I need to see it written out. And if Ellers are the ones that can do it and factor in some of these other things, I'd like to see that. So we can have the figures, so we can have the open meeting and have other people say, we can tell them what we're thinking about. How does this fit? So I would support going to Ellers to get this additional information that Bill is saying we need.
Yeah,
And then
what they would provide you with, they would take the 3.5 million and they would also add in whatever the amount would be for the gravity line to this proposed facility. Figure out what the cost of that is, figure at current bond rates, what the borrowing would be and the annual payments to satisfy that. And then they would factor in the increment 40 million into the TID would bring, and whether or not those payments are coming at the right time and in sufficient amounts to cover the bond payments, which is, I think, what you really need to know.
Wade, do you think they would be willing to enter into a developer's agreement with the town
Well,
we got,
contingent on?
you don't want to put this out too goddamn much in the world. Everybody else is going to come and get them away from you.
Yeah.
they're very interested. They wanted, a couple of weeks ago, we met with them, they wanted to sign a letter of intent to tie up the property. That's how interested they are.
The point is well taken that this is a competitive market. And an increment like that, once it becomes public knowledge, other communities are going to be looking.
We'll give them the land. They'll give them everything to get that increment in. You're doing this for the future of Cottage Grove. It's meant to do. So if you, I don't know, you can't, I don't think you want to, the other municipalities will grab them up along the interstate corridor.
Yeah.
I've done several TIDs of $20 million where municipalities have fronted $2, $3, $4 million in either infrastructure or cash subsidy on $20 million of increment. $40 million of increment is obviously twice as good as that. So what they're proposing, if those are numbers, that's sort of an easy peasy TID deal.
Just so you know, the assumption that we made for the entire northeast quadrant over 20 years was 44 million. I tried to reach out to you guys, but I didn't connect successfully, so I didn't have that information at my disposal. So, I mean, that's a much bigger number, and that's just 28 acres of the quadrant.
400.
Coming in day one, where I'm assuming you assumed the development was coming over the 20 years.
I just
Yeah.
spread it out equally.
I just think it's, the location is there and that a willing developer or whatever, it's just, it's going to be pretty good for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe if I could suggest, I agree with the Houstons. You don't want that name, their potential buyer becoming public knowledge and public record. Maybe the Houstons enter into a letter of intent with the town. Again, contingent on the sewer coming in and everything else. And Houstons can reach whatever agreement they want with their buyer. That way, as all the public knows, is we're dealing with the Houstons. Once we decide to go, before we start digging ground, we would need to enter into a development agreement with the true buyer. But I think that would at least give you enough solace. If the Houstons can come to you with a letter of intent that honestly is not legally binding, but I think gives you at least solace to know to spend $3,000 or $4,000 to get the analysis, it's probably worth doing in my humble view.
I'll make a motion that we consider funding up to $5,000 for Eller to give us all the financial information that we need to bring this to the public.
Second.
Motion by Duplace, second by Williams, to allow up to $5,000 for Ellers to do their calculations
Correct.
on the proposal.
ARPA funds, I guess. I mean, we can only spend that money one time, right? Yeah.
Okay. Motion was by Duplain, second by William. $5,000 for Ellers to do their analysis of the financial feasibility, I guess,
Yeah.
of business part.
And then maybe ask the Houstons to,
Letter of intent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the board wants, I can certainly draft one and get it up to them for review.
So there was a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion for the $5,000, up to the $5,000 for Ellers to do the financial analysis? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Mark, with that new figure that the Houston provided tonight from your calculations that you gave us prior.
Yeah, I mean, I could back out what I assume for that 28 acres and plug in 40 million if it's a real number. You know, and that's where maybe the letter intent kind of comes into play is that.
I'm just curious to see how that changes things from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it would change things.
Yeah.
Well, we got to have some kind of guarantee.
Well, yeah, if you could, that'd be,
Yeah,
I'd like to see it.
yeah, what I don't want to do is give you a number that, our offer said it was going to be 84 million as they got. I didn't.
No, I understand, but and no, we're not talking pie in the sky here. I just.
Do you have any interest in a letter of intent?
You craft it, give it to us. You know, and maybe we'll have more faith too that we can get this put together instead of go bye-bye to the next intersection.
Is it all right that we ask Bill to draft that
Yes.
letter of intent?
Yes.
I get cheap.
Not too many letters.
He's a lawyer. What do you think?
Sorry, that was just.
You want a dirty deed on their cheek.
Okay. Anything else on the business?
We'll pay for the 5,000. I think we already, you said, brought us a letter out for the 10 before. That
We still have some of that, so I don't know if we have 5 left, but we haven't used it all.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We can't, how many meetings? You know, we give you more information if you keep it going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And Public Works Department, road right-of-way permit.
I've got 2 since the last meeting. Both Alliant Energy. One's on Yankee Road. That one's an overhead line to underground. So just converting from overhead to underground on Yankee. And then the other one is a gas repair on Lotus Lane.
You want to tell them about your guardrail?
Yep. Oh, and we're gonna have to get a quote from Highway Landscapers, get a guardrail fixed. We had a car go through a guardrail a week ago.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten a police report on the kid,
Tag, that's all I've gotten so far.
so you're gonna have to get that submitted to insurance.
Yeah, I just picked that up today, finally from Jen. But that was on Hope Road. Sounds like going a little too fast,
Mm-hmm.
way too fast.
Where on Hope Road?
The guardrail down there by the big culvert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I even took pictures.
Nick, you're getting all of our applications in for the state for what?
the 24th they have to be in by?
This Friday.
Sections of this was slide,
Oh, my God.
but they hit it at the wrong angle, so.
Obviously. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I missed the power pole.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, yeah,
Anything
They
else,
were-
Dan?
they were exceeding the speed limit by quite a bit, I guess. Sounds like, no, nothing. Weight limits are on. We're probably gonna be looking at taking them off soon.
Really?
We're not hearing of any real frost. Up off road, I'd like to keep on longer. That's still bleeding, but I haven't seen any other roads bleed now. Like today, we kind of were around and you could drive on it and tell it was soft, like you could feel it
Yeah.
driving on it, but like a lot of the other roads feel good, but I mean, we'll probably won't do anything till the end of the week if we do. Just let this week warm up and just see. But all the diggers I've been talking to,
Do you have to take all the weight limits off all the roads or can you just leave?
we can keep whichever ones on we feel necessary. I mean, it's our spring weight limit. If I feel like it's something we need to protect, then we leave them on. I just know like a lot of municipalities around us are taking them off Thursday. So everybody's hearing the same thing. County said they look in their frost tubes and they're not seeing anything under their roads, so. They had 8 inches 2 weeks ago and then like nothing now. I guess
Yeah.
those couple rains we got really
This weekend.
drove
Rain
them,
coming too.
drove it
Hopefully
out. So,
50 tomorrow.
yeah. And if we get the rain tomorrow night,
Yeah.
that'll help.
Even through Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. So we'll look at that later in the week, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that,
The truck break?
can't think of anything. Oh, yeah, we had a truck. I blew a coolant hose.
What?
So I lost like, what was it, 15 gallons of coolant in like 30 seconds. So, yeah. It was the line behind the turbo, so it was like out of the water pump, so it was flying out, yeah,
Pressurized.
yeah.
Mm.
So that was dead in the water, so I had to come back, get the loader and finish plowing. And then we got it fixed that afternoon though, but I had to tear a lot of stuff apart to get to it. Just took a little while. But it's up and going, back to new.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
Clerk treasurer.
I sent an email out last week that
Board of Review.
assessors want to do board of review on May 9th. I only got a couple of responses, but if that's okay with everybody, I'll give them that date. So
Do what now?
May 9th,
board of review.
the Board of Review.
It's fine.
You might conflict with your emergency government.
That's on,
It's the same night as
Tuesday.
emergency government, so I thought you could probably work
No, we
around
can
that,
change.
can't you? Yeah.
you could change it, yeah.
So we're good for the 9th. And is that at 7?
7 to 9, yeah.
May 9th.
So you'll be freshly trained because you're getting trained on the
On the
first.
1st, yeah.
wow.
And the annual town meeting again is
18th.
18th.
What board of review was when? Here?
Here on the 9th,
What time?
7.
AM?
7 to 9 are 2 hours.
Okay.
So let's see, do I have the dates wrong? Sorry, it's not moving very fast here. Yeah, the board of review is the 18th and the night before Monday is the 17th is the board meeting, not board review, town
Annual
meeting.
meeting.
Annual town meeting is the 18th, Tuesday, the 18th. Other than that, I don't know, we started mailing out absentee ballots last week and early voting in the office starts tomorrow, so.
Wait a minute, you said Tuesday, the 18th, what?
Annual meeting.
Annual meeting.
Okay, that would have been the other week we had emergency government.
In
I would have changed it to
April 18th.
April.
That would be the third Tuesday.
Yeah, but you said we're the second Tuesday.
Board review is in May.
No, okay,
29th.
all right.
And,
May, okay, don't worry about
Emergency
it.
government is April 11th.
That's all I have.
Board reports and communications. Mike, I assume you saw the email that, was it Jay sent out on emergency government that they were have the 4 quadrants and they're gonna come out?
Give me what?
Was it Jay McMillan?
Oh. Just looking at my stuff. Was that, when was this?
I think that was late last week, last Friday maybe.
4 quadrants, each of their
And he
staff people.
listed the 4 that he's in and
Well, that's Mr. Quintero is ours.
everything that they want to accomplish. They want to be more
Oh,
hands-on.
yeah, I read that.
Okay, well. And at our last meeting, I gave you the fire agreement. Did anybody have any questions, comments on it?
I did. I have a question about the value of the emergency B, section 6B. The town shall hold a 59% interest in the emergency services building. The village shall hold a 41% interest.
Yeah. That's what we paid for it when we built it.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I learned that. I didn't know that.
See, that's back when,
Yeah.
in the old days, that's when there was cooperation.
We were the bigger share.
And we paid more than they did.
Thank you for telling me. Now,
Yeah.
when was that? Because
99.
I was
99.
gonna say 24 years ago.
Yeah, we were still a little
Yeah.
bit bigger.
Up until the mid 2000s, we paid 50% of everything
Or more, yeah.
or more.
We
Yeah.
paid more, and then when it turned out that we were gonna pay less, the village came and said, no, we don't like this.
Yeah.
Imagine. Thank you.
Was that the only thing?
That was, yeah, I mean, I did lots of other underlining, but that was the only.
Because the committee meets Thursday night. I assume they'll pass it and then I'll have it on the April 3rd meeting for us.
Yeah. No, I didn't have any other questions.
And the fire department is wondering if in the parking lot, the stripes for parking cars, can you stripe that with your machine?
Yeah.
Sometime maybe this year?
Sure.
Apparently it's all wore off.
Yeah.
There are parking spots
Oh,
on the north side here.
just on this side?
Yeah, because I think the other side was done last year,
Okay.
or on the front of the building. So they were just wondering if we could do that or if they wanted to hire it out. And I said, I doubt that it's worth hiring out. We'll just do it.
Yeah. Well, you can still see them, so that'll be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want any, since they did that new blacktopping, they want any lines in the back, like,
Oh, I did not, he didn't mention anything and I didn't ask him. You could ask Nick.
okay.
And tomorrow night at 7, the McFarland's having their meeting on their comprehensive plan for the east side development.
Is that mainly gonna be about the new dump?
No, Village of McFarland's
Oh.
expansion going east. Their east side plan has a component of their comp plan. I think I'll go and listen, but
Here, just commented here. There. Oh, you can't see it. Only hash marks done on west side could use new lines on west/front.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
Okay. Committee reports, town parks. That was pretty much it.
They didn't really say anything other than what they've told Dan before. They were happy with what Dan's been working on.
I was a little bit confused on the Frisbee baskets, and is that something new that they wanted, or? do we
Yeah,
have them?
we don't have any.
Oh, okay.
That was something we talked about last year at a parks meeting. Something to do this year that was
Yeah.
fairly inexpensive.
Deer Grove EMS. Last Thursday, they had a village resident come and say, what, it was a bad idea to leave Deer Grove EMS, I guess. Cut it
Yes. Yes.
short, and they had one letter.
A letter from Christy Riley that she wrote to Eric, the chief. And it was a heartfelt letter. And it was a mother's worst nightmare that she got a call from her child with FaceTime. And her son had taken his own life. And the younger brother came home and found, and they called Deer Grove EMS, and they came right away and provided the best possible care. There was no pulse when they arrived, and they were able to get a pulse. And brought him to the hospital, and she had 5 days to gradually say goodbye, and lots more detail. But the bottom line of that was that she works in a hospital and she sees other emergency medical services come in, and says that the quality of the care from Deer Grove EMS is the best. And she credits them with helping their family, not only at that time, but afterwards, and thanks them for the request here. But the bottom line was not to break it up.
Yeah.
She's very strongly supports maintaining Deer Grove EMS.
Where did she feel it was going to be broke up? Did she think, or just didn't have any idea? Basically, right?
Exactly.
Huh.
You know what the village is doing, right?
Well, sure, yeah. But
It's far from being speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been quite plain on as to what they want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So she wants it to stay together as it is, because she feels that she knows she's had quality care, and she knows that when they come to the hospital she works at now, that the people that arrive, they have had the best possible care they can have.
Versus what some other agencies provide.
Right, exactly. And she wanted us to maintain that quality. And truth be told, I was so moved. I asked Eric for her number and her email, and I did contact her afterwards. And I talked to her really right before this meeting tonight. So.
We had a short discussion on City of Lake Mills, Village of Lake Mills, needing EMS service, and they only want it for 3 years, starting July 1st, and said we weren't interested.
No way. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly.
Not the 3 years.
Too far away.
Yeah. I don't think there was much else.
I don't think there was either.
Any update on the truck?
Huh?
Any
yes.
update on the truck?
Yes,
Oh.
the ambulance, the new ambulance they're going to take to,
Simden.
yes. Yeah.
So I'd heard them relays came in, so that's what I was wondering if they got any word over there.
We just got it by email today.
Yeah, oh, good.
He's let
Late
us
this
know.
afternoon.
Well, our word isn't on the official fix, it's on an interim fix.
Yeah. It gets it in service though.
It does, correct.
That's good.
Thank you, Eric.
He had also commented that that letter you were speaking of was also sent to the village, all the village board members.
Oh, it was. Okay, good.
Okay.
Will we adjourn?
Motion by DePlace, second by Williams. It's non-debatable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
I'll leave them in the package.
Lots of meetings this week. Then next